Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. For the long and complex cases, now your time to separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead, and the other man's life is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then you must declare him guilty. Whichever way you decide, I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You're faced with a great responsibility. Thank you. The jury will retire. He doesn't stand a chance.
No. You know something? I know a lot of things. I'm in advertising. No, it's hot. I wouldn't have known that unless you told me. Did you? I suppose not. I kind of forgot. All I've done all day is perspire.
Bet you weren't perspiring like that boy who was tried.
You'd think they'd at least air condition the place. I almost died in court. My taxes are piling up. They should go fast, anyways. Yes, it's hot.
All right, everybody. Everyone's here. If you need me, I'm just outside. Just fine.
Did he lock that door?
Yes, he did.
What do they think we are, crooks?
They lock us up for a little while.
And they lock that boy up forever, and it's all right with me.
I never knew they did that.
Oh, sure they locked the door. What do you think?
I don't know. It just never occurred to me.
Shall we all agree right now that it's hot and it's humid and all of our tempers are short?
It has been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine, so long as I got my knitting.
I wonder what's been going on at the office. You know what's been happening in advertising? In 6 days my job could be gone. Whole company too. They aren't gonna like this.
Well, I think this is our duty.
Well, I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned I might not have a job by the time I get back.
Ask him to help you. He's rich. I bet he could get you a wonderful job. Look at that suit.
Is it an original?
Yes, it is.
I have an aunt who makes dresses.
How does she do?
Not too well. You know, a friend of hers, that's a friend of my aunt, the dressmaker. Well, this friend wanted to be on this jury in my place.
Why didn't you let her? I'd have done anything to get out of this.
And get caught or something? You know what kind of fine you could pay for a thing like that? Anyway, this friend of my aunt's was on a jury once about 10 years ago, a case just about like this one.
So what happened?
They let him off. Reasonable doubt. And do you know, about 8 years later, they found out that he'd actually done it anyway. A guilty man, a murderer, was turned loose in the streets.
How horrible.
Did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
No one can be held in double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, no one can be held twice for the same crime.
This isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They could have finished it in 2. Talk and talk, talk. You ever hear so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Everyone deserves a fair trial. That's the system. I guess you wouldn't have anything to say against it.
It's like that business with the knife. Did you ever in your life hear such a story?
Well, look, you have to expect that. You know what you're dealing with.
You gotta switch check that knife?
He claimed he lost
A hole in his pocket.
a hole in his father.
An awful way to kill your father. A knife in his chest.
Well, look at the kind of people they are. You know them.
What's the matter? You got a cold or something?
Oh, Lulu. He's not when the cold could kill you.
I had one last year. My vacation, too.
All right, people, let's take seats.
Right. This better be fast. I've got tickets for Singing in the Rain for tonight, and me and my husband might be the only people in the whole world who haven't seen it. Okay, Your Honor. Start the show.
How about sitting down? The lady by the window. How about sitting down?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's hard to figure, isn't it? A boy kills his father. Bang, just like that. But like, it's his childhood delinquency. People let their children run wild. Maybe it serves them right.
There's no point in getting emotional about it. It's a question of evidence, not how we feel.
The elevator was hot.
And our tempers would get short.
But that is if we disagree. But this case is open and shut. Let's get it done. All right. Now we can handle this any way we want to. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If we want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way. Or we can vote now to see how we all stand.
Let's vote now. Who knows? Maybe we can all go home.
Yeah, let's see who's where.
Right. Let's vote now.
All right, let us vote.
Anybody doesn't want to vote?
That was easy.
All right. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, that is 11 for guilty. Okay, not guilty.
Say, what's the matter with you?
11 to 1. 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Now we know how we stand.
Do you really believe the boy is not guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, she doesn't know.
In 6 days, I could learn calculus. This is ABCs.
I don't believe it's as simple as ABC.
I've never seen a guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He is not guilty until we say he is. Are we to vote on his face?
You sat in court and heard the same things as I did. The boy's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see that someone is a killer?
Oh, well.
I would like to know. Tell me what the facial characteristics of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't.
Look, what is it about this case that makes you think the boy is innocent?
He's 19 years old.
That's old enough. He knifed his father 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old murderer.
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but I think we need to try and avoid emotionally colored arguments.
All right, they proved it in a dozen different ways. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe that stupid story the boy told?
Now.
Do you believe the boy's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what you vote not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without at least talking about it first.
Who says it's easy for me?
Or me.
No one.
He's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard one.
Is there something wrong because I voted fast?
Not necessarily.
I think the boy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you spoke for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
All right, then what do you want?
I want to talk a while. Look, this boy's been kicked around all his life. You know, growing up in the slums, his mother dead since he was 9. He's a tough, angry boy. You want to know why slum children get like that? It's because we knock him over the head so often. I think maybe we owe him a few words, that's all.
All right. Life's hard. It was hard for me. Everything we've got, my wife and I fought for. I worked my way through college. That's where I met her. That was a long time ago, and yes, sometimes you forget. I fought, yes, and my wife fought, but neither of us ever killed.
I know what tough luck's like, but I've never killed nobody either. I've been kicked around too.
Just wait till you work in an ad agency and the guy that buys the advertising walks in.
In my country, in Europe, kicking was a science. Let's try to find something else.
I don't mind telling you this, sister. We don't owe the boy a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? You know how much that trial cost? He's lucky he got it. Look, we're all grown-ups here. You're not going to tell us that we're supposed to believe him, knowing what he is. I was among them all my life. You can't believe a word they say. You know that.
I
determine. This man says it's very dangerous.
I don't see any need for arguing like this. I think we all ought to behave like human beings.
Right. Certainly, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, if we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.
I think that's a good point. We have a job to do, let's do it.
If you don't mind, I'm going to close the window. It was blowing on my neck.
I'd like to have the window open.
But it was blowing on me.
It's summer. It's hot. Don't you want a little air?
Well, I was very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in this room. It's the only window, if you don't mind.
I have some rights too.
So do the rest of us.
Couldn't you trade chairs with someone at the other end of the table?
All right. I will open the window if someone would trade.
Here. Take my chair.
Thank you.
Shall we get back to the case?
Yes, let's.
I may have an idea here. And I'm just thinking out loud now. It seems to me that it's up to us to convince this lady that we're right and she's wrong. Maybe if we sit for a minute or two, talk about it.
Yep, that sounds fair.
Very fair.
Supposing we go once around the table.
Okay, let's try it.
All right. I guess you're first.
Oh, well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what way was it obvious?
I mean that nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. Innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it.
Everyone has.
Sure, I've heard of it. I just think the boy's guilty.
No reasons, just guilty. There is a life at stake here.
All right, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's take the old man that lives on the floor right underneath the room where the murder took place. At 15 minutes after 12 on the night of the killing, he heard loud noises in the upstairs apartment. He said it sounded like a fight. Then he heard the boy say to his father, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body falling, and he ran to the door of his apartment, looked out, and saw the boy running down the stairs and out of the house. He then called the police. They found the father with a knife in his chest. And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight. Right. So what else do you want?
It doesn't sound right to me.
The boy's whole story is flimsy. He claimed he was at the movies. That's a little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
That's right. Do you hear that? You're absolutely right.
He didn't have any ticket stubs.
Who keeps a ticket stub to the movies?
That's true enough.
I suppose, but the cashier didn't remember him.
And the ticket taker didn't either.
Oh, look, what about the lady across the street? If her testing don't prove it, then nothing can.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she? People, let's go in order.
Just a minute. Now, here's a woman who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know. Ugh! Anyway, she wakes up and looks out the window. And right across the street, she sees the boy knife his father.
How can she be sure it was the boy when she saw it through the windows of a passing elevated train?
She's known him all his life. His window is right opposite of hers, right across the L tracks. She swore she saw him do it.
I heard her swear to it.
Okay, and they proved in court that you can look through the windows of a passing elevated train and see what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
Weren't you saying just a minute or two ago that you can't trust them? That you can't believe them?
So?
Well, how come you believed her? She's one of them too, isn't she?
Oh, you're a spy!
Now take it easy. Come on. Sit down. What are you letting her get you all upset for? Relax.
People, they did take us to the old woman's apartment and we looked through the windows of an elevated train. Didn't we?
Yes, we looked.
And weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
I didn't see as well as they told me I would, but I did see what happened on the other side.
You see! You do see, don't
Let's
you?
calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll just pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
I don't know. What convinced me was the testimony of those people across the hall. Didn't they say something about a fight between the boy and the father at around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I could be wrong.
It seems like 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
They heard the father hit the boy twice and saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
Anything else?
No.
I don't know. We could talk all day about this, but I believe we're wasting our time.
I know.
Neither do I. Go on.
Look at the boy's record. He stole a car. He's been arrested for mugging. I think they said he once stabbed somebody in the arm.
They did.
He's been picked up for knife fighting. At 15, he was sent to a reform school.
They sent him to reform school for stabbing someone.
This is a very fine
Ever
boy.
since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up regularly. He used his fists.
So would I on a boy like that. Or if I couldn't, I could see why his father did.
You're right. It's these kids nowadays. The way they are, you know? They just don't listen. I've got a boy. When he was 8 years old, I counted with some of the neighborhood gang, fighting and out in the streets. After all I'd said about staying away from those toughs, he goes and joins them. I gave him a whipping he wouldn't forget. And you know what? When he was 15, he hit me. A woman, his own mother, in the face. He's pretty big too, you know? I haven't seen him in 3 years. Maybe I'm better off. A rotten boy. I hate tough kids. You work your heart out for them and... Alright, let's get on with it.
We're missing the point here. This boy, let's admit, is a product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into reasons why slums are breeding grounds for criminals. They are. I know it, so do you. The children who come out of slum backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
You said it there. I don't want any part of it. Believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Oh, now wait a minute.
I used to play in a backyard that was filled with garbage, and maybe it still smells on me.
Now let's be reasonable. There's nothing personal
There
about
is something
this.
personal.
Come on now. He didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Who did he?
I can understand the
Now let's stop this bickering.
We're wasting time.
It's your turn.
All right. I had a peculiar feeling about this trial. Somehow, I felt that the defense counsel never conducted a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
While it doesn't change my opinion of the guilt of the boy, still I agree with you that the defense counsel was bad.
So,
This is a point.
what about the facts?
So many questions were never answered.
What about the questions that were answered? For instance, let's take that cute little switch knife. You know, the one that fine, upright boy admitted buying.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's get it in here and have a look at it. Foreman, I'd like to see the knife, please.
We saw the thing once in court. I don't see why we have to look at it again. What do you think?
The lady has a right to see exhibits in evidence.
All right with me.
This knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence. Don't you agree?
I do.
Then let's get the sequence of events right as they relate to the switch knife.
The boy admits to leaving his house at 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. He went to a neighborhood store and bought the switch knife. The storekeeper was arrested the following day after admitting selling it to the boy.
I think everyone agrees that it's an unusual knife. Pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper identified the knife and said it was the only one he had in stock. Why did the boy get it?
Present for a friend of his, he says.
Am I right so far?
Right.
You bet he's right. Now everyone, listen to this man. He knows what he's talking about.
Next, the boy claims that on his way home, the knife must have fallen through a hole in his coat pocket. Says he never saw it. Now there's the story, people. You know what actually happened. The boy went home, and a few hours later, stabbed his father with it, and even remembered to wipe off the fingerprints. Everyone connected with this case identified this knife. Now, are you trying to tell me that someone picked it up off the street, went to the boy's house, stabbed his father with it, just to be amusing?
No, I'm saying that it's possible that the boy did lose the knife and that someone else stabbed the father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at that knife. It's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to him. Aren't you trying to make us accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make anyone accept anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not. What are you trying to do?
Yeah, what is this? Who do you think you are?
Look at it. It's the same knife.
Quiet, let's be quiet.
Where did you get it?
I got it in a little junk shop around the corner from the boy's house. It cost me $2.
Now you listen to me.
I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but this proved absolutely zero. Maybe there are 10 knives like that. So what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied, and you know it.
And maybe he didn't lie. Maybe he did lose the knife, and maybe he did go to the movies. Maybe the reason the cashier didn't recognize him was because he sneaked in and was too ashamed to admit it. Is there anyone here who didn't sneak into the movies once or twice when they were a child?
I didn't.
Really? Not even once?
We didn't have movies.
Maybe he did go to the movies, and maybe he didn't. And he may have lied. Do you think he lied?
Well, hell, that's a stupid question. Sure, he lied.
Do you?
You don't have to ask me that. You know my answer. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
No, who are you? The boy's lawyer? Listen. There are still 11 of us who think he's guilty. You're alone. What do you think you're going to accomplish? If you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, he'll be tried again and found guilty, sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? We could be here all night.
For the important night. Man, we
Oh,
told.
now, come on.
Well, yes, that's true.
I think we ought to get on with it now.
How do you like this?
Well, what do you think? You're the one holding up the show.
Obviously, you don't think the boy's guilty.
I have a doubt in my mind.
But you haven't really explained anything to us that makes it possible for us to understand your doubt. There's the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard the boy shriek out.
The woman across the L tracks, she saw it.
We know he bought a switch knife that night, but we don't know where he really was. At the movies.
Earlier that night, the boy and his father did have a fight.
He's been a violent boy all the way. And while that doesn't prove
Well,
anything,
still, you know.
All right. I have a proposition to make. I want to call for a vote. I want the 11 of you to vote by secret ballot, all abstain. If there are still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
All right, let's do it.
That sounds fair. Does everyone agree?
I certainly am.
Yes, vote.
Perhaps these people.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. 6 guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
Well, how do you like that?
Oh, what was it? I think we have a right to know. Oh, right. Who did it? What idiot changed their
Is
vote?
that the way to talk about a man's
Whose
life?
life are you talking about? The life of the dead man or the life of the murderer?
I want to know.
So do I.
Excuse me. These were the secret ballots.
No one looked while we did it, but now I want to know.
Secret ballots. We agreed on that point, no? If the person wants it to remain a secret.
What do you mean secret? There are no secrets in here. I know who it was. What's the matter with you? You come in here voting guilty, and then this slick cookie starts to tear your heart out about a poor little boy who couldn't help becoming a murderer. So you change your vote. Isn't that the most stupid? Now hold it!
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but let's be fair.
Hold it! Be fair. That's what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man into the chair where he belongs. And all of a sudden, we're paying attention to fairy tales.
Wait a
Now
minute.
you listen to me on
Let's
this.
try to get this organized, people.
It isn't organized. Let's try to be civilized.
Please, I would like to say something here. I have always thought that a person was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. That's the reason I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually I would. In this one case, I agree with you, but because what I wish to make is that in my own country, I am ashamed to say.
Oh, and now what do we have to listen to? The whole history of the country?
It is always wise to bear in mind what has happened in other countries, where people aren't allowed to disagree, but we are. So let's stick to the subject.
Yes, let's stick to the subject. I want to ask you, what made you change your vote?
I want to know too. You haven't told us yet.
Why do you think I changed my vote?
Because I do. No, get on with it.
There's nothing for her to tell you. She didn't change her vote. I did.
I was going to tell you, but you seem so sure of yourself.
Sorry. Okay, Loud, let me tell you.
Maybe you'd like to know.
Let me tell you why
Well,
this book.
the lady wants to speak.
Thank you. This lady chose not to stand alone against us. It's her right. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strong. She left the verdict up to us. She gambled for support, and I gave it to her. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
That's fine. If the speech is over, let's go back.
If there was anything in the boy's favor, I vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're clutching at straws.
Guilty as they get. That's our boy, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out. But she'll come around. She's got to, and fundamentally she's a very reasonable person.
I guess so.
They haven't come up with one real fact yet to back up an guilty verdict.
It's hard, you know.
Yes, it is. And what does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt really mean?
What is a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. When a life is at stake, what is a reasonable doubt? You've got to have law and order. You've got to draw the line somewhere, and if you didn't, everyone would start knifing people.
Not much doubt there.
Too You women think so. I wonder why. I really wonder why.
I mean, you do hear stories about innocent men who've gone to jail or even death, and then years later, they just turn up.
Then on the other hand, you hear stories about those that get turned loose and go and kill again. They squeeze out on some technicality and kill again.
Listen, hon. Now that we've kind of pulled off the I got a little rash there a moment ago. And I didn't mean for things to get nasty. Nothing personal.
Think nothing of it. Look, supposing you answer me this. If the boy didn't kill him, who did?
As far as I know, we're supposed to decide whether the boy on trial is guilty or not. We're not concerned with anyone else's motives here.
I suppose, but who else had motive?
The boy's father was along in years, maybe an old grown.
Remember, he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is an important thing to remember.
Everybody's a lawyer. Well, supposing you tell us what your reasonable doubts are.
This is not easy. So far, it's only a feeling I have. A feeling. Perhaps you wouldn't understand.
No, I don't.
A feeling? What are we supposed to do? Spend the whole night talking about your feelings? What about the facts?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Look, the old man heard the boy say to his father, "I'm going to kill you." Then he heard the father's body falling, and he ran to the door of his apartment and saw the boy running out of the house 15 seconds after that.
That's the way I understand it.
There's a reasonable doubt in that.
That's right. And let's not forget the woman across the street. She looked into the open window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
Now, if that is enough for you,
It's not enough for me.
What is enough for you? I'd like to know.
How do you like her? It's like talking into a dead phone.
The woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving L train. The train had 5 cars on it, and she saw it through the windows of the last 2 cars. She remembers the most insignificant
Well,
details.
what do you have to say about that?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me.
Well, supposing you think on it. Want to see a knitted sweater pattern that my daughter sent me? It doesn't seem that hard.
Wouldn't it be out of style by the time you got it done?
This isn't a sewing.
Yeah, wait a minute!
This is a man's
Who
life.
do you think you are?
Take it easy.
I've got a good mind to walk around this table and smack her.
Now, please, I don't want any fights in
Do
here.
you see her? The nerve, the absolute nerve!
All right, forget it. It don't mean anything.
How about sitting down?
This isn't a sewing circle. Who does she think she is?
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So?
All right. How long would it take an elevated train going at top speed to pass a given point?
What has that got to do with anything?
How long would it take? Guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I. Nobody mentioned it.
All right. What do you think?
About 10 or 12 seconds, maybe?
I'd say that was a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would think about 10 seconds, perhaps.
About 10 seconds, yeah.
All right, we're all agreed. 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. An elevated train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point. That point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out the window and touch a passing owl, right?
That's right, I tried it.
So?
I want to ask you something. How many of you ever lived near the L tracks?
I live close to him.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I've lived right next to them. When your window is open and the train is going by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself Think.
You can't hear yourself think. That's the point.
The old man heard the boy
He
say.
didn't say it, he screamed it.
The old man heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." And 1 second later, he heard the body fall. 1 second. That's the testimony, right?
Right.
So,
The lady across the street looked through the windows of the last 2 cars of a passing L train and saw the body fall, right?
right.
The last 2 cars. The last 2 cars.
What are you giving us here?
An L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point. That point is the window of the old man's apartment. He would have had to hear the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you," while the front of an L train was roaring past his nose and had been going by for at least 6 seconds, maybe more. It's not possible he could have heard it.
What do you mean? Sure, it's possible.
With an L train going by,
The old man heard the boy yell it out.
an L train makes a lot of noise.
It's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think he could have heard it.
Maybe the old man didn't hear it with the noise.
What are people talking about? Are you calling this old man a liar?
Something doesn't fit.
Well, it stands to
Why would he lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention. Maybe.
You keep coming up with these bright sayings. What about sending one into the newspaper? They pay $2.
What does that have to do with a man's life? Why might the old man have lied? You have a right to be heard.
It's just that I looked at him for a very long time. The seam of his jacket was split under the arm. Did you notice that? He was a very old man with a torn jacket and carried his cane. I think I know him better than anyone here. This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant old man who has never had recognition, his name in the newspapers. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. A man like this needs to be recognized, to be questioned and listened to and heard just once. This is very
Oh, so you're
important.
trying to tell us that he lied about a thing like that? Just so he could be important?
No, he wouldn't really lie, but perhaps he made himself believe he heard those words and recognized the boy's face.
Well, isn't that the most fantastic story I've ever heard? How did you come up with a thing like that?
I'm not making it up.
What do you mean? You must be making it up. People don't lie about things like that.
He made himself believe he told the truth.
What do you know
I
about it?
speak from experience.
All right. Is there anything else?
Cough drop?
No, thank you.
Does anybody want a cough drop?
Come on, let's get on with
I'll
it
take
now.
one. Thank you. All right. Now there's one more thing I'd like to point out about the old man who lived downstairs. I think we proved that he couldn't have heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill
Well,
you."
I disagree.
Let's hear her through anyway.
But supposing he did say, "I'm going to kill you," this phrase, how many times has each of you used it? Probably hundreds. If you do that one more time, your mother or your husband yells, "Come on, Rocky, kill him." We say it every day. This doesn't mean we're actually going to kill somebody.
Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered. One thing more. The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you," and the kid screamed it at the top of his lungs.
That's the way I understand it.
Now, don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody say a thing like that the way he said it, they mean it.
And how they mean it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Right! He's a common, ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
The boy's clever enough.
I would like to change my vote to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Alright, the vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty.
I'd like to know why you changed your mind.
I believe there's a reasonable doubt.
Where? Where's the doubt?
There's the now.
Fine. She talked you into believing a fairy tale.
Go on, give us the reasons.
Well, the old man too. Maybe he didn't lie, but then just maybe he did. Maybe the old man doesn't like you.
This isn't the end.
I believe there's a reasonable doubt.
Based on what? Stories that she made up. She ought to work at the Amazing Detective Monthly. She'd make a fortune. Listen, the boy had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't the lawyer bring up these points?
Lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, heavens. You sit here and you pull stories out of thin air, and now we're supposed to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run to the door, and see the boy running down the stairs 15 seconds after the killing.
That's the testimony, I believe.
And the old man swore to us. Yes, he swore to us, just so he could be important.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ram, walked. What's the difference? He got there.
I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could run.
He said he went. I remember it now. He said he went from his bedroom to the front door. That's enough, isn't it?
Where was the bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere.
Down the hall. Are we to send a boy off to die because it was down the hall somewhere?
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
I don't remember either.
Foreman, I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the apartment.
Why don't we just have them run the case all over again, just so you can get everything straight?
The bedroom is down the hall somewhere. Do you know exactly where it is? Please, boy's life is at stake. Do you know?
No.
Foreman,
I heard you. Come on, what's this one for? How come you're the only one in this room that wants to see damn exhibits all the time?
I want to see this one too.
And I want to stop wasting time.
Are we going to start rummaging through all the nonsense about where the body was found?
we're not. We're going to figure out how a man who's had 2 strokes in the past 3 years and who walks with a pair of canes could make it to his front door in 15 seconds.
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
How long does he know how 15 seconds is? You can't judge a thing like that.
He said 15. He was very positive about
He's
it.
an old man. Half the time he was confused. You saw that. How could he be sure about anything? You know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know.
Is this what you wanted?
That's right, thank you.
Sure, that's my job.
One of these?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Wake me up in this room.
I looked at this diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough.
Some of us aren't interested. Go ahead.
All right. This is the diagram of the apartment in which the murder took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. Here are the L tracks, the bedroom, the living room, the dining room, the bathroom. Here is the hallway, and here is the front door to the apartment. Now, the old man would have had to, the old man was in bed in the bedroom. He says he got up out of bed, walked to the bedroom door down the hallway, and opened the front door and looked out just in time to see the boy running down the stairs. Am I right?
Right.
15 seconds after he heard the body fall.
Correct.
It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door. The length of the hall is 43 feet 6 inches. He would have had to get up out of bed, get his canes, walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. Do you think this is possible?
You know it's possible.
The old man would have been in a hurry. He did hear the scream.
He can only walk very slowly. He had to help him use the maintenance chair.
You make it sound
along the wall.
Hey, what are you doing?
I want to try this thing. I'm going to pace out 12 feet, the length of the bedroom.
That's crazy. You can't do a thing like that.
Perhaps if we could see it, these are getting worse than one.
It's a ridiculous waste of time.
Let her do it.
I can't see any harm in it. Foolish, but go ahead.
All right, this is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the window of this room?
I'd say about 20 feet.
About 20 feet, yeah.
All right, 20 feet is close enough. Then from here to the window and back is 40 feet. That's shorter than the length of the hall the old man would have had to move through. Wouldn't you say that?
A few feet, maybe.
Look, this is absolutely insane. What makes you think you could do this?
We can't stop her.
Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it'll only take us 15 seconds. We can spare that. Do you mind if I borrow your pen?
Not at all.
Who here has a watch with a second hand?
I have.
When you want me to start, stamp your foot. That'll be the body phone.
What can you do there?
Let's say he keeps his canes right at his bedside. Right?
Right.
All right. I am ready.
I'm waiting for the second hand to get to 60.
Let's speed it up. You walk twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even more quickly than the old man walked in the corridor.
No, it isn't.
If you think I should go faster, I will.
Speed it up a little.
All right, done.
Right.
What's the time?
10, 15, 25, 39 seconds exactly.
That can't be.
39 seconds.
Now, that's interesting.
Say now. You know.
What do you think about it?
39 seconds. 39 seconds.
And the old man swore on his oath that it was 15.
He may have been a little bit off the speed that the old man was at, but 24 seconds off? Well, now, you know.
Far be it for me to call anyone a liar, but even with allowing for quite a difference in speed between the old man and you, why still there's quite a
Quite a
discrepancy.
discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to the door, heard someone racing down the stairs, and assumed that it was the boy.
I think that's possible.
Assumed? Now listen to me, everyone. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display just takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
Tell her. You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slums and injustice, and you make up these wild stories, and you got a couple of soft-hearted sob sisters listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm sick of it all. What's the matter with you people? This boy is guilty. He's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this good for nothing, you bet I like to pull the
I'm
switch.
sorry for
Don't start with me.
what it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a saint.
Shut up.
You want to see this boy die because it would satisfy you personally, not because of the fact. You disgust me.
Will you shut up? Let me go. I'll kill her. I'll kill her.
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Well, what are you looking at?
I don't see why we have to behave like children.
Nor do I. We have a responsibility. This is a remarkable thing about democracy. That we are, what's the word, notified. That we are notified by mail to come down to this place and settle the guilt or innocence of a person, of a man or woman we have not known before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict. This is one of the reasons why we are strong. We should not make it a personal thing.
Thank you very much.
Why do you thank me?
You forget? It's good to be reminded.
I'm glad we're all going to be civilized about this.
Well, we're still
No,
nowhere.
we're somewhere, or getting there, maybe.
Maybe.
Anybody got an idea?
I think maybe we should try another vote. Foreman?
It's all right with me. Anybody doesn't want to vote?
Let's vote.
It's all right. Let's do it. I want an open ballot. I want to see who stands where. Let's call our votes out.
That sounds fair enough. Anyone object? All right, I will call off your jury numbers. I vote guilty. 2,
Not guilty.
3,
Guilty.
4,
Guilty?
5,
Not guilty.
6,
Not guilty.
7,
Guilty.
8,
Not guilty.
9,
Not guilty.
10,
Guilty.
11,
Not guilty.
12.
Guilty.
It's 6-6.
I'll tell you something. The crime is being committed right here in this room.
The vote is 6 to 6.
I'm ready to walk into court and declare ourselves a hung jury. There is no point in going on anymore.
I'd like to know why you changed your mind, and why you did. There are 6 people here who think we are turning a murderer loose in the streets. The motion won't do. Why?
It would seem that the old man did not see the boy run down the stairs, and I do not think it likely that the old man heard someone scream, "I'm going to kill you." Old men dream, and even if the old man did, even if the boy did say he was going to kill, then look at the authority of this person to prove that it might not really mean he was going to kill.
Why don't we take it into the judge and let the boy take his chances with 12 other jurors?
6 to 6. I don't think we'll ever agree on anything.
It's got to be unanimous, and we're never going to convince her.
At first, I was alone. Now 5 others agree there is a doubt.
You can't ever convince me that there's a doubt, because I know there isn't no doubt.
I tell you what, maybe we are a hung jury. It happens sometimes.
We are not going to be a hung jury.
But we are, right now. A perfect balance.
If there is a reasonable doubt, I don't see it.
That was there in my mind.
Maybe we should vote.
Not again.
What do you mean, vote?
I want to know. Vote on what?
Are we or aren't we a hung jury?
You mean that we vote yes, we are a hung jury, or no, we are not a hung jury?
That's just what I was thinking.
I'm not sure on whether we could agree on whether or not we are a hung jury.
Can't even agree about whether or not the window should be open.
Let's make it a majority vote. The majority wins.
If 7 or more of us vote yes, then we are a hung jury. And we take it into the judge and declare ourselves a hung jury.
Right. And if 7 or more vote no, then we aren't a hung jury, and we go on discussing it.
It doesn't sound quite right to me.
It's the only solution.
I agree. It's the only way.
Anything to end this.
Are we agreed then? 7 or more votes, and we take it into the judge.
Let's call our votes out.
That sounds fair. I vote yes, we are a hung jury. 2,
No.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
No.
6,
No.
7,
Yes.
8,
No.
9,
No.
10,
Yes.
11,
No.
12.
Yes. Damn it!
It's 6 to 6.
can't even get a majority vote to decide whether or not we're a hung jury.
I went along with the majority vote on this question, and I didn't agree with voting. Not really, and I still don't. So I'm changing my vote. I say no, we are not a hung jury. I still believe that the boy is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. There are a few questions I want answered from those who changed their minds.
Then we aren't a hung jury, so we go on.
Good, we go on.
I would like to know, what made you change your mind?
Well, she's made a number of good points, and she just seems so confident. Well, she just gets angry and insults everybody.
Does the anger and the insult change the guilt of the boy? He did do it. Are you going to turn a murderer loose simply because one of the jurors becomes angry when she thinks a murderer is being turned loose?
That's true.
Well, there is a reasonable doubt.
I don't think so. The track is straight in front of the window. Let's take that point. So the L train would have had to have made a low rumbling noise. L trains screech when they go around curves, so the old man could have heard a scream which is high pitched. And it is a tenement and they have thin walls.
Good, that's it. That's it.
But what if the old man was wrong about the time it took him to get to the door, but was right about whom he saw? Please remember, there weren't any fingerprints found on the knife, and it is summer, so gloves seem unlikely.
Now I want you to listen to this man. He's making sense.
And it would have taken a few seconds to get a handkerchief out and wipe the fingerprints away.
This is a point.
Why don't we time this one just to see?
Just what are we doing?
Yes, let's be exact, please.
I'm saying that what if the old man was wrong about the time it took him to get to the door, but was right about whom he saw running down the stairs? Now, it may have taken the murderer about 35 seconds to wipe away the fingerprints and get down to the place where the old man saw him. The boy, that is.
This is right. We reconstructed the old man getting out of bed and going to the window, and we timed that. Now let's reconstruct the actual crime.
As well as we can reconstruct it.
I think a murderer could use 30 to 40 seconds pretty easily by that point.
Let's reconstruct the killing.
Yes, let's.
Here, you do the stabbing.
No, I'll do it.
And why don't you be the one that gets stabbed? Don't forget, it takes 1 second to fall.
He was found on his side, his right side. So come over here and fall on your right side. If someone hates a person enough to kill them, don't you think that person would also look at his victim just for a second or two?
And try and divorce yourself in this particular case?
It's just human nature.
Yes, it seems reasonable.
Wait a minute. He falls on his side, the father does, but stabbing someone isn't like shooting them, even if it's in the heart. He would have worked around on the ground for a couple seconds, writhing maybe.
That's quite possible. I would have thought there would have been enough oxygen in his system to last maybe 2 or 3 seconds, maybe.
Wouldn't the father have cried out?
Maybe the boy held his mouth.
That also seems possible.
Also, there's another point we might forget. If someone is clear enough mentally to wipe the fingerprints off of the knife, don't you think that person is also clear enough mentally to look around the apartment, or the room in this case, for clues? It would just be for a second or two, I think, but still, he would have looked around.
This gets better and better.
We're trying to make it clear. One doesn't talk about quality when murder is involved. So let's do it.
About this on the fingerprints. The boy wiped the fingerprints off the knife. Well, what about the doorknob? If I saw a man coming into my home, a man that hated me, and if he was wiping the doorknob with a handkerchief as he came in, I'd start screaming. I think any man would feel a sense of unease. So the doorknob must have been wiped after the killing, and this too would have taken some time.
You time the last one. Why don't you time this one too?
All right.
Stamp your foot when you want me to start.
I'm waiting for the hand to get to 60.
I'm going to kill you. wipe both knobs. Stall.
Right. About 29 and a half seconds, I'd say.
And whoever did murder the old man, and I think it was the boy, still had to run down the hall and down the stairs. At least one flight of stairs.
You see? You see?
The old man may have been wrong about the time, but I think in view of this, it's quite reasonable to assume that he did see the boy run down the stairs.
So no, both time sequences check. What was the one you did and the one we did? What was running down the stairs and everything? It does pretty much check out on times.
Sure, the old man could have lied. That's probably it. But the old man feels the same way everyone else does. I like this.
So the story of the old man may very well be true.
Except for the fact that he absolutely swore under oath that it was only 15 seconds.
You all seem to agree that it was 25 to 35 seconds later.
You are now admitting that the old man lied in one case and told the truth in the other, and while I admit that this does tend to confirm the story of the old man, he is now in part a proven liar, and this by your own admission.
While it may be true that the old man lies in part, I think I'll have to change my vote once more. Guilty.
What about you? What do you think?
I don't know. I want to talk some more. At first, I said guilty, and then I changed. Now, I'm sort of swinging back to guilty.
What about you?
Well, I am now in real doubt. Real doubt. I said guilty. I was right the first time.
Now we are beginning to make sense in here. Seems to be about 9 to 3 in favor of guilty.
One more question about the old man who lives downstairs. How many of you live in apartment buildings?
I don't know what you're thinking, but I know what I'm thinking.
What's that?
I do not live in a tenement, but it is close, and there is just enough light in the hall that you can see the steps, and no more. The light bulbs are so small, and these murder took place in a tenement. Remember when we stumbled on these steps?
The police officers used big bulbs, and one even had a flashlight, remember?
An old man who misjudged the time by 20 seconds. On this we all agree. This old man looked down the dark hallway of a tenement and recognized a running figure.
He was 100% wrong on the time. It took him twice as long as he thought.
And could not the old man be 100% wrong about who he saw?
That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. You're making that up out of thin air.
Something doesn't fit.
Do you truly feel that there is no room for reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
I beg your pardon, but perhaps you don't understand the term reasonable doubt?
What do you mean? I don't understand it. Who do you think you are, speaking to me like this? How do you like this, babe? She comes over here running for her life, and before she can even take a big breath, she comes over here telling us how to run ours. The nerve of her.
No one here is asking where anyone came from,
I was born right here.
or where your mother came from.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt us to take a few tips from those who come running here. Maybe they learned something we don't know. We're not so perfect.
Please. I am used to these. It's alright. Thank you.
It's not all right.
All right. I apologize. Is that what you want?
Yes, that's what I want.
All right, let's stop this arguing. Who's got something constructive to say?
Actually, there is one thing that's been bothering me. About the night room. The downward angle of it, you know?
Don't tell me we're gonna go over that again. They went over it and over it in court.
I know they did. It's just, I don't go along with it. The boy is 5'8" tall. His father is 6'2" tall. That's a difference of half a foot. Wouldn't it be a little awkward to stab downward into someone 6 inches taller than you?
Look, you're not gonna be satisfied until you see it again. I'm gonna have to do a demonstration. Somebody get up. Now watch closely. don't want to have to repeat myself. Is this 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
Okay, let it be more.
Look out!
That's not funny.
What's wrong with you?
Now calm down now. Nobody's hurt, are they?
No, nobody's hurt.
All right. There's your angle. Take a look at it. Down and in. That's how I'd stab a taller person in the chest, and that's how it was done. Take a look at it and tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in. I guess there's no argument.
Did you ever stab anybody?
No, of course not.
Did you?
Now let's not be silly.
Did you?
No, I haven't.
Then where do you get all your information about how it's done?
What do you mean? It's just common sense.
Have you ever seen a person stabbed?
Nope.
All right. The boy was an experienced knife fighter. He was even sent to reform school for knifing someone. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Now, I want to ask you something. Take a look at this. Doesn't it seem an awkward way to handle a knife?
What are you asking me for? Hey, wait a minute.
Can I see the knife?
Have you ever seen a knife fight?
Yes, I have.
In the movies.
In my backyard. On a stoop on a vacant lot across the street. I've seen too many of them. Switch knives came with the neighborhood where I lived. It's funny I didn't think of it before. I guess I just try to forget those things. Anyone who's ever used a switch knife would have never stabbed downward. You don't handle a switch knife that way. You stab it underhand.
Then the boy couldn't have made the kind of wound that killed his father.
No, I suppose it's conceivable that he could have made the wound, but it's not likely, not if he'd ever had any experience with switch knives. And we know that the boy did have a lot of experience.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. You're giving us a lot of mumbo jumbo.
What do you think?
I don't know.
What about you?
Listen. I think we should just stop all this arguing and go home.
Before we decide anything more, I would like to try and pull this thing together.
This should be good.
But she has a right. Let her go ahead.
Do you want me to time this one too?
I'm in advertising. I love to see things pulled together.
Makes for good layouts.
Let's try and look at the whole picture and see if some pattern is there. Maybe get a fresh viewpoint.
I want you all to look at this logically and consistently.
We have guilty.
I want to know, is the boy smart or is the boy dumb?
What has that got to do with it?
This is a boy who everyone knows is an experienced knife fighter. On the night of the murder, he brought a knife, a switch knife. It would then take a very stupid boy to go and murder a man, his own father, with the very instrument that everyone would associate with the son.
I quite agree. He's dumb.
However, if he were dumb, then why did he make the kind of wound an inexperienced man would make?
I'm not sure I understand.
To murder someone must take great emotion, great hatred. And at that moment, a man would wield the knife as best he could. And a man who had been trained would wield it as he had been trained, that is, underhand. A man who had not been trained would go overhand. But the boy is being very smart. He is smart enough at that moment to make the kind of wound that an inexperienced man would make. And at that same time, he is also smart enough to do the killing as an L train is going by, perhaps to cover up the noise. Now, is the boy smart or is he dumb?
No, wait a minute.
Well, the woman across the L track saw the murder through the L train, so someone in that L train could have seen the murder too.
A possibility, but no one did that we know
It would take an awfully dumb man to take that chance, doing the murder if the train went by.
of. Exactly. A dumb man, a very stupid man, a man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train go by. And whoever did murder the father did it as best he could.
So,
This is a boy who was sent to reform school for knife fighting. On the night of the killing, he bought a knife, a switch knife. It would take a very stupid boy to then go and do everything to associate himself with the said knife. However, he also made the kind of wound an inexperienced man would make. That would take a very smart boy. And then, a moment later, he does the killing as an L train goes by, which again leads us to believe he is stupid. And a moment after that, he becomes smart enough to wipe fingerprints away. To make this boy guilty, you have to say he is dumb from 8 o'clock until about midnight. And then around midnight, he is smart 1 second and dumb next, and then smart for a few seconds, and then he becomes dumb again. So stupid that he does not even think of a good alibi. Now, is the boy smart or is he dumb? To make him guilty, you have to throw his intelligence like a pancake. There is doubt, doubt, doubt.
I never thought of that.
And the old man who lives downstairs. On the stand, he swore it was 15 seconds. He insisted on 15 seconds, and yet we all agree that it must have been almost 40 seconds after.
Does the old man lie half the time, and then does he tell the truth the other half the time?
For the boy to be guilty, he must be smart and stupid and then smart and so on. And also, for the boy to be guilty, the old man must lie half of the time, and the other half of the time he must tell the truth. You can reasonably doubt.
I'm sold on reasonable doubt.
I think I am too.
I wanted more talk, and now I've had it.
I want another vote.
All right, another vote has been called for. I guess the quickest way is a show of hands. All those voting not guilty, raise your hands. Nine. All those voting guilty. 3. The vote is 9-3 in favor of acquittal.
I don't understand you people. How can you believe this boy is innocent? Look, you know how those people lie. I don't have to tell you. They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, they don't need any real big reason to kill someone either. They get drunk and dead. Someone's lying to them. Nobody's blaming them. That's how they are. You know what I mean. Violent. Human life don't mean as much to them as it does to us. Hey, where are you all going? Look, these people are drinking and fighting all the time, and so if somebody gets killed, so somebody gets killed. They don't care. Oh, sure, there are some good things about them too, but I'm the first to say that. I know a few of them who are pretty decent, but that's the exception. Most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They can do anything. Hey, what's going on here? I'm being righteous, and you, listen to me. You're no good. There's not a one of them who's any good. Take it from me. We better watch out. This for a trial. What do you know about them? Listen to me. What's the matter with you people? I'm trying to tell you something.
Enough! Open your mouth again, and I will pry your eyes out.
I was only trying to tell you.
All right. Sit down. Everyone. Now, I still believe the boy to be guilty of murder. I'll tell you why. To me, The most damning evidence was given by the woman across the street who actually claimed she saw the murder committed.
That's right. That's the most important testimony.
All right, let's go over her testimony. What exactly did she say?
I believe I can recount it accurately. She went to bed at about 11 o'clock that night. Her bed was right next to an open window, and she could look through that window into the window across the street. She tossed and turned for over an hour, unable to fall asleep. Finally, at about 12:10, she looked out, and as she does, she sees the boy knife his father. As far as I've seen, this is an unshakable testimony.
That's what I mean. That's the whole case.
Frankly, in view of this, I don't see how you can vote for acquittal. What do you think?
Well, maybe there is so much evidence to sift.
What do you mean, maybe? He's absolutely right. You could throw out all other evidence.
That was my feeling. I don't deny the validity of the point she's made. Shall we say that on one side of the tracks there is a doubt? But what can you say about the story of the old woman? She saw it.
What time is it?
About 10 minutes to 6.
You don't suppose let us go home and finish it in the morning? My little girl. She has the mumps.
Not a chance.
Can't you see the cloth without your glasses?
Not clearly.
Oh.
Glasses are a nuisance, aren't they?
Well, what do you do when you wake up at night and want to know what time it is?
Well, I put on my glasses and I look at the clock.
I just lie in bed and wait for the clock to chime. My father gave it to me when we were married, my wife and I. It was 10 years before he had a place to put it.
Do you wear your glasses to bed?
Of course not. Nobody does.
What about the woman who testified she saw the killing? She wears glasses. What about her?
Did she wear glasses?
Of course. The woman who ordered bifocals. I remember these very clearly. It's quite strong.
That's right. Bifocals. She never took them off.
Funny. I never thought of that.
I think it's logical to say that she was not wearing her glasses in bed, and I don't think she put them on to glance casually out the window. She testified that the killing took place the instant she looked out, and the lights went out a split second after. She couldn't have had time to put her glasses on then. Now, perhaps she honestly believed she saw the boy knife his father. I say she saw only a blur.
How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's farsighted. How does she know all these things?
Does anyone think there is still not a reasonable doubt?
I will always wonder. But there is a reasonable doubt.
I think he's guilty.
Does anyone else?
No. I'm convinced now. There is a reasonable doubt.
You're alone.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right.
Yes, you have a right.
Well, I think the boy's guilty. What else do you want?
Your argument.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We're waiting to hear them again. We have time.
Look, what's the matter? You can't sway now. A guilty man's gonna be walking the streets. A murderer. He's got to die. Stay with me.
I'm sorry. I'm convinced. I don't think I'm wrong very often, but I guess I was this once.
We're waiting.
I'm entitled to my opinion. You're not gonna sway me. It's gonna be a hung jury. That's it.
And there's nothing we can do about that except hope. Some night, maybe in a few months, you might be able to get some sleep.
We're all alone. It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone.
If it is a hung jury, there will be another trial, and some of us will point these things out to various lawyers.
All right. All right!
They're waiting. Not guilty.
Not guilty.